Dreaming in the Desert, a permaculture story. Sudan is a hot country, and the desert parts of Sudan are extra hot. So hot that it feels like you're being cooked. So hot that if you spill some water on the ground, it might disappear in about 30 seconds. That's where Amna lived with her brothers and sisters and her mum and dad. She was in what is called a semi-arid desert, in a small and friendly village. Aged 10 years old, Amna was a happy girl. However, she could also see that her parents and other villagers were stressed and struggling. Every year it was getting harder to find places for the villagers' sheep to graze. The land was getting drier. Less and less things were growing. The heat was increasing. These issues were making people poorer and making it harder to get enough food. Meanwhile, far away, in other parts of Sudan, there was conflict in the country. This meant that the government could not help the villagers with their problems, and there was nowhere else for the villagers to go. Amna loved to learn, and everyone in her village loved to support and encourage her. One day, Amna's neighbour returned from a trip, and with him he had something exciting. It was a laptop, and he invited Amna to try it out. Amna and her siblings soon became obsessed with a website called World Regenerators. They had searched how to fix a desert and discovered this site full of inspiring pictures, videos, and practical information. Kids on the site were sharing their challenges and success stories whilst explaining a concept called permaculture. Amna wanted to test some of her new knowledge and was especially interested in a way of digging the land into trenches to make something called swales. Swales help to catch and soak up water. Amna thought her village could use them to maximize the benefits of their short rainy season. However, it would require a lot of work to do all the digging, and Amna would need everyone to help. Amna felt shy to tell everyone they should dig swales, so first she worked with her siblings to measure all the heights of the land and mark with stones where they should be dug. It was a hard task for Amna and her siblings. They had created something called an A-frame using some pieces of wood and string. This helped them to measure the slope of the land. The problem was that there was so much land to look at, and they weren't even sure if their plan would work. At some points, Amna felt like giving up, and she felt like nobody would join her on her mission. Her siblings were kindly trying to help, but she could see that they were getting tired of carrying rocks and measuring slopes. Sometimes it would just be Amna working by herself. While she was doing this, she would talk to herself and give herself encouragement. When the rainy season finally began, Amna had a fantastic surprise. The rocks she'd put in place with her siblings were making a difference. They slowed the flow of the water, stopping it from quickly disappearing from the land. This meant water soaked into the soil and made good growing conditions. Now there were green shoots sprouting all along the rows of rocks. This proved to Amna that her idea could work. She finally found the confidence to share her vision with the village, and soon everyone became excited to get started with her big plans. The whole village began work to bring Amna's full vision to life. In the mornings and evenings, when it wasn't so hot, they would dig trenches in the same way that they saw them on the World Regenerators website. The stones that Amna and her siblings had laid acted as a guide for where the trenches should be dug. Amna explained to the villagers that the purpose of their work was to try and help the land absorb as much of the water as possible during their rainy season. This was so that throughout the rest of the year they could keep using that water to help things grow, even when the weather was hot and dry. During the hot part of the day, the villagers sat in the shade and used recycled materials like old fabric to create shades for the plants and barriers to protect them from the wind. This work that they were doing was to help give all of the plants the best chance of surviving the high temperatures, strong sunlight, and any potential damage that the wind might cause. This extra support was going to be especially important for any new plants because they were most vulnerable to these issues when they were just starting to grow. A final step that Amna and the rest of the villagers took was to work together to reach agreements on areas where villagers should not graze their sheep. That meant there were some areas where the sheep could not enter and eat anything. They created a variety of movable fences so that they could protect the chosen areas. This was an important step so that they could give the new plants a chance to grow big and strong. As part of all their discussions and work, Amna also explained how her plans were aiming to achieve something called plant succession. Over time, the land was starting to hold more water, become greener, and food was becoming plentiful. The plants they'd planted grew bigger and stronger. This helped make an environment where even more varieties of plants could grow. It was the process of succession Amna had talked about. Some plants weren't as strong and needed the shade and support of other plants. Gradually, they added more and more types of plants and even grew trees. Elders in the village said it was like the good old days, before they had made a mistake of using chemicals to try and grow things quickly. Amna's pride for all the positive changes in her village gave her confidence to now take on a personal challenge. She had dreamt of one day making a video to share the story of her village on the World Regenerators website. She already had some old videos of the land from before, as well as videos of when they were digging the swales. She recorded a video showing all the changes and received an amazing response on the World Regenerators website. Not only that, now journalists wanted to interview her, and she was even offered a future scholarship to study agroecology, a university course similar to permaculture, if she wanted. Amna had changed the lives of everyone in her village. Her family and friends weren't as stressed anymore, and they were happy because they could eat a variety of healthy food all year round. Amna had also changed her own life in many profound ways. She was more confident in her abilities and had become skilled in planning and explaining things. Amna now had many exciting opportunities to choose from for her future, and a passion for restoring the environment that she was excited to share with the world.